Okay, number one, think in primitives. So obviously you have all your primitives here, shapes. You have all your shapes here. And let's say, for example, you want to make a nose, like an animal nose. So you can either use a sphere or a cylinder, or you can figure out some other shape, but those are the two that I usually use. For example, I'll do one with a sphere and with a cylinder. So with the cylinder, or with the sphere, I'll bring it up about where I need it to be, something like that. And then you can use these tools, like you can use these tools to stretch it. And, you know, say like it has a little bit of a longer nose. Let's say we want it a little bit wider. So still just an ordinary sphere. Go ahead and validate it. So even that looks like a decent nose. So let's say we want to make the nostrils. There's a couple ways that you can do it. You can do it with clay, and then you can just hit subtract. So that means it takes away clay rather than adds it. So you can do something with clay, and you can sort of just make nostrils like this. You know, depending on, you know, how you kind of want them shaped, you can sort of work it out. So you can have nostrils like that, and then you just smooth it out. And you have a pretty decent animal nose. Now, of course, you can go into a lot of detail, really like shape it, make it how you want to, but literally just by using a primitive, just by using a primitive, you have, you know, a decent animal nose that you can kind of shape and do what you want with. Just another little tip, I kind of want the nose to be to show the bottom part of the nostril. So I'm just going to use my move tool. I've soloed the nose, still on symmetry, and I'm just going to push this up, make the brush a little bigger. I'm just going to push this up a little bit. Let's see, we'll unsolo it. You can lock it. I'll push this up a little bit more. And then you have a little bit of that nostril as well, if that so suits you. And just one other quick note, if you don't have the lock feature here, so you go up to these three lines up here, tap that, and you just check lock, and you see it will show up and go away right here. So if you want to make a tooth, notice I have not validated it yet. I'm just going to sort of make it look a little bit more like a tooth. Whoops. So I'm just using these little, the little spheres. All they do is stretch and pull. So I'm just using them to sort of make it generally look like a tooth. Oop. I keep accidentally hitting one of these cones. I always do that. I actually don't know how to make those cones go away. They're annoying. So generally, tooth shape, enough for me to work with. Okay, so I think that's a decent looking base for a fang. But notice I'm going to hit mirror. So now that I've hit mirror, now I'm going to actually go left and right. I'm going to take this red and I'm going to break it away, and you see this ghost one here. So now that I have two of them, I can bring it down. I can bring it a little bit closer just so I can sort of look at it. And now I can validate it because I have my two teeth here. And also, make sure that you have symmetry on here, because now you can sort of move them individually, kind of like that, so you can really get it perfect. But as long as we have symmetry on, so as long as symmetry is on, I'm going to go to move. I'm going to make the brush really small. Actually, not too small. And now I can sort of shape our fangs, and whatever I do to one, it's going to do to the other. So I'm just going to sort of tap on our shape here. Okay, so they look more like fangs. And now I'm just going to use the gizmo with both of them to bring them down into the mouth. You probably want to spend a little more time on your fangs so they don't look crazy like these do. But that's okay. And now the fangs are in the mouth. And you can sort of move them around and position them as to how you like them. But the fangs are in the mouth. And another thing, if you do want to separate them, you can just go in here and go to wherever this is, wherever your teeth are, and then just hit separate. And now you have two. And now you can move them individually. Okay, so number 3 is pretty simple, but even I forget to do it. Name your elements. So we've made a nose, we've made some fangs. So I'm going to tap on the nose, and you see I've already named it new nose. So that's great, but I still have these spheres here. Let's just name it tooth. Tooth. That way, as we move forward, we will always know what these two are, so we don't sort of get confused. And again, if you want to merge them, like if you want to just put them together so that they're back the way that they were, just click on them both, hit simple merge, and now we'll just change it to teeth. And then both teeth are, again, you can use them together. You can hit symmetry, and then they're exactly like they were. Okay, number 4, remesh at 200. So let's say you're making something and you have a sphere and you want to use some of these tools. Let's say crease. So we'll use the crease tool, and I'll turn off symmetry. We want to make a little swirly on our ball. Obviously, that looks terrible. So inevitably, you're going to wind up subdividing a lot. So we go to this little graph here, subdivide. So same crease tool, looks a lot better. So you figure, okay, let me subdivide again. Looks even better. You want to push the envelope, we all do. Subdivide again, it looks great. Looks cool. So the only problem with this is the more that you subdivide, the more dense the clay is. So it's going to be harder to smooth out. And it becomes harder to like sort of manipulate it and things like that. So if you're running into problems and you want to wind up smoothing out your mesh, or it gets lumpy and you want to smooth it out, so just go here, voxel, 200. I usually wind up doing this to all my shapes so I can make sure they're nice and smooth. Remesh. And now you'll be able to smooth everything out if you'd like. And another little trick, because sometimes even it still will remain looking a little bit lumpy, or you can try flatten. You can make flatten really big, and then you can sort of flatten it out. And then sometimes that helps to hide the lumps. Number 5, turn off environment. So if you notice, my mesh is like this red clay color, which is what I like to use. And that's because I always use Metcap to do my sculpting. It just disregards the light, which is great. That's what I prefer. So it sort of looks the same. It's sort of neutral, and it's just easier for me to sculpt. So that's here again, and that's Metcap. The default is PBR. So then it's something like this. But you see there's all these light sources and things like that. So once you finish a mesh, once you finish something, a cool little trick that I like to do is to turn off environment. So go here, turn off environment so it's black. Now add your lights. So we're going to add one light. Let me make sure my lights are showing. So we've added one light here, and we want to bring this up, and let's say we want the light to be coming from there. Then you can add another light. We'll add another one. We'll make it interesting so you can see it. So this light, I'll just use the second light. We'll use a spotlight. So now we have a second light, and I'm going to put it behind it. And lights take a while to sort of get used to, but they're really fun once you kind of get the knack for lighting. So let's say we want something like this. We want that nice glow on the right side. And just for fun, we'll add another light. We'll make this one kind of warmish. And let's use a point light for this one. So this is just kind of bright. So now we're at a point light to this side, just to make it interesting. So now we have these three lights, and now you can use the environment if you want. You can go back to the environment, you can turn it on, but you see the difference that the environment makes. What I like to do is bring the environment, bring the exposure all the way down, and then just bring it up as much as I need. So let's just say I want to make it overall a little brighter, but not too bright, because I want everything to be coming from the lights that I've set up. I think that's the most important, and that can make your sculpts more dynamic, rather than sometimes if you have a default setting like this, or if you just choose one of these, it's going to look a certain way, but you'll have less control with your lights. So what I like to do is turn them all off, light it how you want it, and then slowly come back with the environment. That way you have a much better mesh. If you want to know more about Nomad Sculpt, then feel free to follow my Instagram, drugfreedave3D, and also I have some Skillshare classes. So I'll show you some of my work from my Skillshare class. I have a beginner Skillshare class where I just make some sort of like textures, and I think I make like an egg in a pan. I have a pancake one where I make let me go out of this, where I make pancakes. So this is like a more intermediate class, but we do everything step by step. I'll show you how to do everything that I'm doing here. In my latest class, I make this little guy in 3D. So we do everything from start to finish. I walk through everything. So you want to take my beginner class first, and then you can jump to, something like this character design class, and you can make these cute little characters. This class will be out March 30th, 2022, and this is from a sketch. So this is from one of my sketches, and this is one of the stages before we color it and things like that. So that's it. Hopefully those were useful. Let me know in the comments, and let me know if you want to see more tips like this. This was really fun. Keep drawing, keep sculpting. I will catch you all in the next video. We'll end it on this little guy here.